All right, let's be real clear about something right from the jump. All this misinformation that's tearing the country apart, the static in your family group chat, the lies that put a Confederate flag inside the Capitol, none of that was an accident. It was engineered. Somebody broke the mic on purpose. And today, we're going to pull the receipts and show you exactly how it all went down. I mean, you see the headlines every single day, right? It just feels like pure chaos. You got math books being banned in Florida because they supposedly have prohibited topics. It's wild. And it definitely doesn't stop there. You got folks screaming at school board meetings about something they call critical race theory. Now, this is a legal framework that most of them couldn't define if you held a gun to their head, but they're ready to go to war over it. And then you've got millions of our neighbors, good people, who truly believe a presidential election was stolen. And funny how that lie always seems to find its way back to black folks in cities like Detroit, Philly, and Atlanta. See, these aren't just random brush fires. This is a coordinated burn. So you got to ask yourself, how did we get here? How did the very idea of a shared reality, of basic facts, get so completely shattered? Well, this didn't just happen out of nowhere. So let's follow the receipts all the way back to the source. Believe it or not, there was a time when if you wanted to use the public's airwaves to broadcast your ideas, you actually had to play by some rules. I know, wild idea, right? There were actual guardrails in place to stop the exact kind of madness we're all living through right now. It was called the Fairness Doctrine, and the concept was simple. Since the airwaves go on to us, the public, broadcasters had a duty to serve that public interest by on different sides of important issues. Think of it like a circuit breaker, right? It was designed to stop the exact kind of one sided propaganda that's now poisoning everything. And look, for almost 40 years, this was the law of the land. It was put in place to fight the kind of extremist voices we saw back in the 1930s. The Supreme Court backed it up, and in the 70s, it pretty much wiped out a whole wave of one sided right wing hate radio. Bottom line, it worked. And this right here, this principle is everything. The Supreme Court made it plain. Your right to be informed, your right to hear all sides of a story, was more important than a corporation's right to just shout whatever it wanted. The public's right was paramount. Don't ever forget that. Then came the 80s. And with the stroke of a pen, those guardrails, they weren't just lowered, they were systematically torn down. And let's be clear, this wasn't about free speech. No, this was about giving free rein to corporate and political propaganda. This was a power move, period. This was the ideology behind it all. Reagan's guy at the FCC, a man named Mark Fowler, said television was nothing more than a toaster with pictures, just another appliance, not a public trust, but the responsibility to the people, but just another product to be sold. And that way of thinking, it changed everything. So in 1987, Reagan's FCC went ahead and killed the Fairness Doctrine. Now, Congress actually saw the danger and passed a law to bring it back, but Reagan vetoed it. He claimed that fairness was somehow an attack on free speech. And with that move, the mic was officially broken. He didn't just uncork a bottle, he kicked Pandora's box wide open. And the second the Fairness Doctrine died, the truth didn't just get a little quieter, it got straight up evicted. And you know what moved in to take its place? A whole new business model, the Outrage Industrial Complex. The ink on that repeal wasn't even dry. In 1988, just a few months later, the Rush Limbaugh show goes national. All of a sudden, you've got 3 hours a day of unfiltered, unchallenged, hard white opinion being beamed into every single town in America. The dam had officially broken, and he was just the first wave. And this is the part you really got to get. This new media, it wasn't selling information, it was selling a feeling. Outrage became the product. And the glue holding it all together? Good old fashioned American racism, just repackaged for the airwaves. Remember the welfare queen? That was a racist myth Reagan made popular, and talk radio ran with it for years, cementing that bias in the minds of millions, with absolutely no requirement to ever tell the other side of the story. This slide right here shows you the whole evolution. Talk radio perfected the art of audio outrage in the late 80s and early 90s. Then, in 1996, Fox News comes along, takes that exact same model, and puts it on television 24/7 with the perfectly ironic slogan, fair and balanced. The propaganda pipeline was now complete. So now let's really connect the dots because that propaganda pipeline, it doesn't just end on your TV screen. No, it runs directly into your kid's classroom, your public library, and your local school board meeting. The culture wars we're seeing today are the direct result of that media machine. Just look at this. Before 2021, critical race theory was a term nobody outside of a law school had even heard of. Then, in just 4 months, Fox News mentions it over 1,300 times. See, they needed a new boogeyman to fight back against the racial justice protests of 2020, so they just manufactured one. They literally created a crisis out of thin air. And that manufactured panic, it had very real consequences. More than 25 states introduced laws to ban the teaching of so called divisive concepts, a direct result of all that media hysteria. Policy followed the propaganda. And from the classroom, that fire spread right to the library. In 2022, we saw a record number of attempts to ban books, more than double the year before. This isn't just a few concerned parents, y'all. This is an organized political attack on knowledge itself. And let's just be real about who they're targeting. The vast majority of these challenged books are by or about Black people, queer people, or books that deal honestly with the history of racism in this country. See, they're not protecting children, they're silencing truths that make them uncomfortable. So when you connect all these dots, when you follow all the receipts back, you arrive at one single undeniable conclusion. The chaos we are living in right now, this was not an accident. This was by design. This was policy. Here it is, the whole story in four simple steps. Step one, kill the rule that requires balance. Step two, build a media machine that runs on one sided outrage. Step three, use that machine to radicalize your base with lies like birtherism. And step four, weaponize that radicalized base against the very idea of truth in our schools and libraries. It's a straight line from there to here. And that's really the key insight you got to take away from all this. This fight, it isn't some grassroots movement that just bubbled up from parents. The culture wars weren't born in a classroom. They were born in a boardroom, built by deregulation and weaponized by a media that figured out that fear is way easier to sell than facts. We have got to understand how this system was built if we're ever going to have a chance to dismantle it. This isn't just history, it's a breakdown of how power really works. And the fight for truth has never, ever been more important. If you want to dig deeper and get all the receipts behind the story, visit reflectivembs.com. Keep shining that light.